Chapter 10, Para-Educators. Chapter Objectives. Describe how the roles and responsibilities of para-educators in public schools have grown and changed over the past several decades. Explain instructional and non-instructional responsibilities of para-educators and clarify activities that should and should not be assigned to para-educators. Identify strategies for effectively working with para-educators as you assist them in understanding the scope of their responsibilities, plan with them, maintain clear communication with them, and supervise their work with students. Describe how collaboration pertains to the interactions between para-educators and professionals. Chapter Objectives continued. Balance your professional obligation to value para-educators as individuals who contribute to the educational process while recognizing their licensure and employment status and the parameters that are placed on the expectations that should be set for them. Let's consider who will run Tiers 2 and 3 of RTI. Translate for ESL students. Help a Gen Ed teacher manage a classroom of 32 small children. Provide personal care for a severely disabled student. Assist with the influx of early childhood students receiving assistance as at risk. Assist a high school student in his afternoon job as stocker at a grocery store. All while remembering that, yes, we're on a budget. For each of the items listed here, paraprofessionals are oftentimes the people who complete these tasks, and of course, the list goes on. The average wage for a paraeducator in the United States is $11.69 per hour. While some divisions, programs offer bonuses, or perhaps incentives for being highly qualified, the wages are oftentimes not enough to meet the cost of living demands. That being said, most paraeducators move on to other jobs if they have more than 20 years in this field. The visual on this chart provides more details regarding wages for paraeducators in the United States. Taken from our text, as conveyed by paraeducator Buffy Phillips, is a statement that is reflective of the current wages being offered to paraprofessionals on working for a living wage. While they're taking care of other people's children on the playground and in the school cafeteria, many paraeducators struggle to provide for their own children. Many of their children qualify to receive free or reduced lunch in the district for which they work. As far as we understand, we are the lowest paid unit in the district, and we are the ones who are teaching in the classroom, says Buffy Phillips. We're not asking to be paid like the teachers are paid. We just need enough to live on. Let's take a closer look at paraeducators in public schools. Paraeducators are individuals who provide instructional and other services to students and who are supervised by licensed professionals who are responsible for student outcomes. They are also known as paraprofessionals. The majority of paraeducators are women, and most take on the persona of mothers or grandmothers, i.e., using motherhood as a basis for interacting with students. Job qualifications of paraeducators. The most common employment criterion is holding a high school diploma. IDEA specifies that these individuals must be appropriately trained. Paraeducators who work in schools that receive Title I funds must have appropriate preparation for their roles. Some paraeducators see the role as a means of entering the teaching profession once they complete their professional studies. Some divisions, organizations, have teacher development programs in which qualified paraprofessionals can move in to teaching roles. The Virginia Department of Education, VDOE, has set forth requirements for paraprofessionals to meet what the federal government deems highly qualified. Paraprofessionals who provide instructional support and programs that are supported with Title I funds must meet the federal standards for being highly qualified. So what are those standards? All Title I paraprofessionals must have a high school diploma or its recognized equivalent. Additionally, paraprofessionals must meet one of the following: complete 2 years of study at an institution of higher learning, or obtain an associate's or higher degree, or meet a rigorous standard of quality and be able to demonstrate through a formal state or local academic assessment knowledge of and the ability to assist instructing reading, writing, or mathematics, or, as appropriate, reading readiness, writing readiness, and math readiness. Paraprofessionals are not required to take a specified course of study if pursuing one of the first two options. Take a look at the notes on the remainder of the slide for more information about what's provided on the VDOE website regarding highly qualified paraprofessionals. Consider this data. The group of staff members generally considered least powerful in schools provides most services for the students who are likely perceived as least powerful, that is, those with disabilities. Needless to say, this is a problem as we consider the valuable role that paraprofessionals play in our schools. Consider also other prevalent data regarding paraeducators. There are approximately 1.3 paraeducators in all capacities in public schools, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, 2009. There are 323,422 paraeducators employed to support students with disabilities, U.S. Department of Education, 2010. The number of paraeducators in schools is likely to increase in the future. So, why the projected increase in paraeducators? There are many reasons. Growth rate of approximately 10%, rising emphasis on early childhood programs and services, increase in assistance for transition from school to work or community settings, growing number of students and families for whom English is not the first language, and increasing shortage of special education teachers. Throughout the course of a school day, a paraeducator wears many hats. These roles typically fall within two categories: instructional and non-instructional. Examples of instructional duties include instructional delivery, preparation of materials, supporting individuals or small groups of students, and assisting with follow-up activities, to name a few. Non-instructional duties include direct support for students, clerical responsibilities, and other responsibilities, such as providing translation for a member of the instructional team. There are ethical considerations that we need to keep in mind when assigning duties to paraprofessionals. Paraprofessionals supplement instruction, they do not supplant it. In other words, the teacher is responsible and accountable for instruction. The paraprofessional provides instructional support as designated by the teacher. Communication with parents is important. However, any major issues or concerns should be addressed by the teacher, not the paraprofessional. Paraprofessionals are oftentimes assigned to work with an individual student. Initially, that work is done within close proximity to the student, and the student is quite dependent on the support of the paraprofessional. While no one would want to deprive a student of needed support, what also is important is that the student learn to interact with classmates in a natural way. In other words, they need to become more independent. Some closing thoughts about working with paraeducators in your classrooms. Training varies widely by state as well as local school district. Professionals need to provide student-specific and context-based information in order for paraeducators to do their jobs effectively. Paraeducators are supposed to work under the direction of a teacher or other professional. The biggest reported obstacle to professional paraeducator planning is time to meet. Working with paraeducators, the teacher's role. Assign responsibilities, communicate regularly with paraeducators, supervise paraeducators and provide feedback, address the matter of conflict when it exists. Paraprofessionals are not co-teachers. They support instruction. The relationship between a teacher and paraprofessional is not one that is built on a true collaborative model, as there is not parity in regards to classroom decisions. As Chapter 10 has highlighted, the roles of paraeducators in schools are numerous and important. Don't forget to let the paraprofessionals that you work with know that they are valued members of the school community.